everyone. I am Dawn Benninghove, a registered nurse for the last 40 years now, as well as your host for today on the Home Care Companion. So I'm always talking about tools for your toolbox. And boy, do we have a toolbox full of tools today, because Edna Palmer, one of our personal care aides, is joining us today. And Edna, boy, are we excited to see you today.
Thank you.
You are someone that makes us at Companion Extraordinaire laugh all the time. And so I knew that our listeners would just love to be able to hear your story and hear about you and your journey with Companion. So let's start with what you did before you came to Companion Extraordinaire.
Well, let's see. It's always been in the medical field. Went to school initially to be a medical secretary, and those years, that was a 2.5-year course. These days, it's probably not even a course for that now these days. But anyway, after that, I worked at the Cleveland Clinic. I've worked at the York Hospital. Worked at hospital my daughter was born in Maryland. I can't remember. Moved to Richmond. Had a business. Couple businesses. Then went to work for a local transcription company nationwide. Managed about 200 transcriptionists all over the country. It was It was my introduction to the internet. That was in the early 90s. It was my introduction to how much you could do on the internet with a whole lot of help. Mm-hmm. After that company was sold, went to work for a local hospital, managing their medical transcription department for all their facilities.
How many years did you do that, Edna?
Did that for 5 years.
Okay.
And that department was closed.
Probably because of the internet, right?
A lot of reasons. Okay. They had their reasons.
Sure.
So after that shock, I didn't see it coming. After that shock, you'll notice I'm not 20. And the internet, yes, made it possible to take those jobs away.
Because so much could be done on the internet.
Yes.
I know now transcription is all done on the internet.
It's done in other countries.
Gotcha. Okay.
And the internet makes that possible.
Absolutely. Right.
So, and cheaper.
Oh, of course. Right.
So it makes, made my world kind of swirl around. In the middle of all that, I lost my hearing. I was 40. So that was 30-some years ago. That journey was just there, and you had to take it. So I have had cochlear implants. I was very fortunate to have MCV right in my doorstep, and a physician who was young, and he knew what was wrong. So luck is there. So I had my implants, and
And you've taught us a lot about implants, Edna, and it's actually been very helpful for some of our other clients because there are many gadgets that you have shown us that we didn't even know existed because of your cochlear implants. So that has been invaluable.
that is always ongoing. I'm just always shocked to, of course, there are groups that I've semi-follow. I'm not constant on there because sometimes it just drives you crazy to be on the internet all the time. You're where you are, and that's where you're going to be till you make a change with your journey. And everything plays a part of that. Your insurance, Medicare, I'm no different than anybody else. In what used to be and what will be paid for now. So we just move along. I can hear.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, what
Yes.
more can I ask for?
Right.
And if it's with a gadget or something hooked to my nose, you know, I can hear.
Absolutely.
After my pity party of about a year looking for a job, was roaming, coming back from the gym down Lakeside Avenue, and here's a glass window with your picture or a nurse's picture. You know, it's got to be something I can look into. I just stopped that day. Not sure who I talked to, but anyway, actually it was human resources. Mm-hmm. And we talked about the class, and I had actually gone to Virginia Rehab. I think that's what it is. Not rehab, but anyway, they were going to help me find a job.
Gotcha.
So when I went and told them that they knew who you were, it was fine. Paid for my shoes, some of my uniforms. Had a few emails. I did want to see the inside of the building where the classes were, because I knew what my hearing would take, what I could do. And at that point, I didn't have the microphone that I have now. Everything was perfect because there were rugs on the floor. Big plus, low ceilings, close environment. Works for me. I didn't have a problem with the classes.
So you started our personal care aid courses.
Yes.
And you went through those 40 hours
Yep.
of classes. And that's how you became a PCA.
That's how.
Absolutely. And that was 5 years ago at this point. Mm-hmm. And that is pretty amazing. You are also one of our most highly requested aides. And we're excited because you have such detail. You look into so many details. We as nurses love it because we can send you with our clients to the doctor visits, and you come back with all this detail. And I believe a lot of that is also your medical transcriptionist background, which makes you just amazing when you're working with our clients. So we love that, and we love your story, and we love that you've been with us now for these 5 years. So, and your cochlear implants absolutely do not slow you down at all. You know, it just, and because of you, we've actually had another employee who has come as hearing impaired, and she didn't know about all of the gadgets, and you've been able to instruct her, and she's now gotten some of those, which has helped her, and it's just been wonderful, you know, to have you on board, Edna.
Thank you.
So one of the other things I want to talk about is that you shared a beautiful story with me about finding out something very special about your brother, who is no longer with us. And I think that everyone would love to hear that story because you certainly had me in tears. It was a heartfelt tug that was so beautiful. So would you share that, please?
Oh, I'd be glad to. Well, 55 years ago, we had Vietnam. And it took a lot of people. I'm from a small town in medium town in West Virginia. My brother was in college and here was Vietnam, and he was joined the Marines and stuff. He wasn't in Vietnam very long until he was injured. He was sent to Drake, Japan, where most everybody was sent after surgeries on one of the ships. Then to NIH, and finally home to the VA, and where he did die. Many things happened which delayed his name being put on the wall. And it took us forever to find out what happened. I tried early on. I was newly married in 68, and he died in 69. There was no internet, and so it was letter writing. I wasn't even in the state anymore. But anyway, I let it go. You have to let it go. I mean, there's just only so much you can do. At least there was only so much I could do.
Right.
That I felt I could do. A couple of years ago, my cousin, I'm from a very large Italian family. My dad was one of 13, so I have hundreds,
Right.
literally, of cousins. A few first cousins left. This happens to be a first cousin. And he contacted me by email and wanted to know why Larry's name wasn't on the wall. He'd taken his 2 sons. So I shared my story, and all of a sudden, he was just on it. And he lives in Clarksburg, which is where I'm from. So he went to the congressman, and this was a voting year, a new congressman in Clarksburg. All of a sudden, it wasn't, I'm going to say 5 months, and it was over. He made it happen. Records had been misfiled. We could never find my brother's records at the VA in Clarksburg. Never found him. When he was discharged from NIH, he was discharged as a rehab. He was paralyzed from the neck down. He was not a rehab. Politically, things happen. Anyway, all of a sudden, we're set up to go for the Memorial Day Vietnam ceremony. And there were 5 men from that era whose names had never made the wall. And my brother Larry was one of them. So my family, we went, and friends, and a few cousins actually made it to that ceremony. And yeah, it's kind of bittersweet, anticlimactic, and overwhelming, all because you just stuff all that. You know, he's gone, I can't bring him back.
So if I'm calculating correctly, Edna, after 52 years of your brother being gone, then he was honored and his name was placed on the Vietnam Wall.
Right.
That's amazing, Edna. It still chokes me up. I still get tears because I know how much it touched you, and you're right. I saw you cry, which I don't we just don't see that type of emotion from you. You're such a rock. But I can only imagine, as a newly married wife and as a sister, what you went through to try and get your brother's name put on the wall, but then for him to be finally honored. I'm so glad that happened, Edna, and so glad that whatever wheels turned did indeed have that occur, and that your family was able to see that. So
We're still trying for a few more things in Clarksburg, possibly a bridge naming or our local park.
wow.
So my cousin's still working on that. And one of my brother's very close friends, this also brought him to the forefront, who'd I'd forgotten. We played kick the can together, and I just didn't realize how close, because I was 2.5 years older than my brother, so I was already gone off to school when, but this friend entered the picture, and he's also trying to get these things done. So we might be done, we might not, but I think the most important is that his name is on the wall.
Indeed. Well, we wish you great success in those endeavors as you and your family move forward. And thank you for sharing that with us.
You're welcome.
Now I'm going to ask you, all right, Edna, being with Companion Extraordinaire for 5 years, how do you feel about working at Companion Extraordinaire?
As long as I feel good when I get up in the morning, I am ready to work at a Companion Extraordinaire. I'm a wuss. I don't do pain. So I'm fortunate. I'm healthy. And, but to really answer your question, I felt it took me maybe 2 years to be extremely confident about facing the unknown. I'm kind of a concrete, black and white individual. But I had to realize that home care book was there, and I could use that. And I can use the internet if there was something that was wrong, that client had a problem I wasn't really familiar with. And I still do that. I want to know. And I can still learn. Hey. My comfort level with Companion Extraordinaire really comes down to the fact that I'm not alone. I know who I am, what I can do, what I can't do. And the importance of having the ancillary personnel, to me, makes all the difference. And I can tell a funny story, if it's okay.
Absolutely.
Maybe 2 years in, but it was with one of our Alzheimer's patients. Lovely, sweet, adorable. Nighttime, bedtime. Never had issues, never questioned anything. Everything was always pretty pat with her bedtimes. But this day, the moon was full. And she was unhappy with everything. Calling the police, which I later realized she had done before. And she was just unhappy that I was there. And I didn't know what to do. I really had she was not being medicated, And So I called the office. And God bless Mary. It was almost time for me to leave around 9 o'clock. And Mary said, she said, get out of her eyesight. Hide from her till she goes to bed. Fortunately, the house was like a circle, kitchen, dining room, living room, and I could just walk into the next room if she was behind me. And that's what I did. Fortunately, she had cataracts, so she couldn't see too well in the darkness. So I'm in the corner, and she's in the same room, and I'm just backed in the corner. She looks around, looks right at me, doesn't see me, and she turns around, goes down the hall, goes into her bedroom, goes to bed. What I didn't realize, on one of her trips, she had hidden my coat and my pocketbook. She didn't like that. It was new.
It's out of place.
She stuffed it under the sofa. I found it. And my purse she had put on a shelf, I think. It was in plain sight, but it was not where I left it. So that there was nothing, an emergency there. But it taught me a lot about Alzheimer's just in that one visit. If nothing else, get out of sight, if they're unhappy. So, but the important thing is Mary was there. There's always somebody on the phone. If I need a nurse, and I have needed nurses, they're there. So to me, that makes the difference. And I don't know a thing about any other company in Richmond. Maybe they all do that. Maybe that's the law. I don't know. I don't care. It's what it is here.
Right.
It makes me feel comfortable. And I would just, if you don't know what you're looking for in a company, especially if you're not as trained, I want to say, as have a background as much as mine, why not? Go where there's people that can always be available.
And you had the dementia training in your PCA class, but this was so individualized with this particular client
that you're
goodness.
Talking about. Yeah,
that you really needed that individualized assistance from Mary at the moment.
We do. Well, I don't know what the classes have now. They probably have a lot more. We did have dementia training. Also, the dementia training that we do in the module, this last was pretty amazing.
I agree with you. I did the module myself, and you're talking about what we provide for our employees through our training. It's ongoing. Every month you get a module to go over, and that counts as your continuing education.
Yes.
I agree with you. That was an excellent module.
It was extremely long, but done very well.
And worth it.
Yeah.
I mean, I say with me and having been a trainer at the Alzheimer's Association, I learned several things during that training session that we had because, things are always changing. And you and I both know that, Edna. And so to be able to get that additional training monthly is so helpful. And long or not, it was worth the time that we were having to do that module.
Well, absolutely. Just this tiny thing in the module, when you have an Alzheimer's patient that you think might be a flight, take a picture that morning of what they're wearing in case they leave. And the police say, what did they have on? There was so much more, but that really has stuck with me, and I have done that.
That's excellent.
I have done that.
That's excellent.
You just look, you get busy. They had jeans on. What? And a sweater.
Right. Plus, in an emergency, your mind is just so fearful and concerned. And
Right.
so all of those particulars go out the window when the police show up.
Yep.
And we always say that if you all that are with clients, if you ever feel like you need to call the rescue squad or the police, we're going to back you 100%. I'd rather have them come out and go, everything's all clear, than to not do it and have an incident occur.
No problem there.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, Edna, we thank you so much. I would say that we definitely gained tools for our toolbox today. And we are at Companion Extraordinaire very proud to know Edna Palmer, personal care aide.
My goodness,
You are
thank you.
an amazing lady and an amazingly talented care provider. And that's why we call you a care pro, because you are definitely a professional at your job. So thank you all for joining us today. Thank you, Edna, for joining us. And
You're
we
very
wish you
welcome.
all the best. Dawn Benninghove signing off for today.